those levels just all where they're supposed to be.
It's because Matt was very delicate when he pulled the.
Yeah, I was telling you, every time I pick that thing out of the box, I'm like, because I'm afraid to touch a knob or
just gingerly,
yeah,
gingerly put it down. That's not. You gotta treat things with kid gloves sometimes.
That's what they say.
Especially things that you love. Just gotta pet them. Just nice, easy strokes, gentle.
There's no double entendre in that
None.
meeting at all.
Not at all. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Southern Fried Geekery podcast, where we treat you gingerly and, with kid gloves and like we love you, because you're important to us. As usual, I am Caleb Alexander McKenzie.
Matt Trogdon.
And I'm Craig Lance. I noticed you didn't take that the one step further.
See, no, that's the trick, though. You toe right up to the line, and then you pull it back.
Don't cross the
Leave
line.
them wanting more.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the difference between me and the incels.
Showmanship.
Just
one step.
But no, that's just fun. We enjoy our segues and our entendres on this podcast, if you don't know. For those of you who have not been with us a long time, who are just tuning in to listen, we are a comic book podcast. That's what we do. We talk about the funny books.
What?
I have a feeling we're getting new listeners this episode.
Holy crap. Yeah. I've been completely preparing wrong for this episode.
Just going to talk about books, just TV.
Yeah, just whatever comes to mind.
I thought he was the NASCAR episode.
Craig showed up ready to talk about Thessalonians. He's been reading his Holy Bible.
No, he didn't.
I did not come prepared to talk about the Bible.
I have faith in you. I think you could. Well, this is episode. If I'm not mistaken, I firmly believe in my heart of hearts that this is episode 197.
Holy shit!
I see
we got
that
3 episodes to plan a 200th episode.
Yeah. And
we've really dropped the ball on that.
That's way more time than we'll use.
I am so behind in planning that. And the reason I say I think it is because for some reason, even though I put it on there when I uploaded it, the episode thing does not tell me from last week what episode we were on. I don't know what happened. Either I dropped the ball or...
We're going to go with 197 because that gives us 3 weeks
right?
to prepare for episode 200.
I'll look it up later, but I'm just fairly certain it is. Anyway, we've done a lot of podcasting, guys. It's 197.
None of us have killed each other yet. That's kind of amazing. That
look, we have to qualify. We haven't actually killed anybody. We've had 2 former podcasts on this show. They're very much alive.
I killed a dude once with a spear. I did not play.
You've graduated now.
That was very specific. A spear.
I was trying to think of Trident and I couldn't, so spear came to mind in place.
Close.
So it was
fancy
that line
spear
from
You're just 2 points away. Yeah. That's it.
The line from Anchorman. I killed a dude with a trident. Yeah, you might want to lay low for a bit.
I love Lamp. But no, we are glad you all joined us. As you can tell, we're all in good spirits. It is a drizzly Sunday morning here in the capital, kind of the capital of the natural state. We're across the river, but we're almost in Little Rock, in central Arkansas.
These are the details you come here for, folks.
It's a little rainy, but our spirits are high. We will not let it dampen those. We're going to be in good moods. How have you all been this week?
Busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
Away.
Yeah.
Yep. Doing some little work traveling.
Yeah, went to Scottsdale. It's nice in Scottsdale.
Yeah.
It is, I have to say.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Summers get a little warm, but...
Yeah, it was, it had, temperatures were mild and the scenery was really nice. It's a nice area, I have to say.
Because I don't travel through Arizona a lot, is Scottsdale the one that's up kind of in the mountains?
No, Scottsdale is just outside of Phoenix.
Okay. I can't remember which one. There's a city, one of their bigger cities, that's kind of up in the mountains. It's absolutely beautiful, too. But anyways, neither here nor there. I'm glad you enjoyed yourself.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I've only been to Arizona once. I had to take a work trip to Phoenix one time a few years ago, and it was a fun city. It's nice. Like I said, it's just outside there. So dude, those fucking, if you're from Arkansas, and I don't think you really understand or comprehend just how giant those cacti are. They are huge. I never had an appreciation for them until I actually saw one of those big barrel cactuses up close and in person.
Yeah. It's interesting to see, all the homes and a lot of the buildings being in that adobe style. Yeah. It's just interesting. It's an interesting difference once you get out to that part of the country.
Yeah, different parts of the country, it's crazy, the different styles of building.
Gorgeous, though. I know it's not the same place, but Raj and I, on our honeymoon, we stopped in and went to, the Painted Desert. So just outside of the Grand Canyon. Yep. Just stunning. I could sit there. I wouldn't want to live there because of 180 degrees.
Lizards.
Yeah.
I mean, but honestly,
Scorpions.
Mostly we're inside.
That's true.
The lizards would bother you?
Huh?
The lizards would bother you?
I'm not a big reptile fan. I mean,
the scorpions are
bad too.
Yeah, I like lizards.
Depends on what the lizard's doing. If it's
it's leaving me alone, I'm fine. If it's selling me insurance, it's a little bothersome.
They eat bugs. They're
you're not
fast. Wrong. As long as they're not like a Gila monster.
Bugs, they're fast. That's what Matt has for pro reptile.
There's fucking Gila monsters down there stealing people's babies and shit. Like, as long as we're not dealing with that, we're fine. Yeah. those are problematic.
Depends on the size of the lizard. Like, they start getting crocodile and alligator size, I'm pretty well done with.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to mess with those guys. Anything that can eat me back, I'm not a big fan of. I think that's just a general rule. I don't like things that are going to try to eat me back. So
that was my favorite.
Yeah, just Matt says this as he's wearing like bear paws. Like you guys don't know this. Matt actually records in like a leather loincloth and like he's got like a knife on his side.
I assume people know that.
Yeah, it's just he's like
he covered in as Conan most of the time.
He's covered in the blood of the animals that just tried.
It's freeing,
but didn't try hard enough. But no. Well, in addition to being busy, I hope and I take it on good faith that you guys got some books read this week.
I mean, I tried.
Nice.
I'll go first. I read Baby Teeth number 20, which was the final issue in the series. It's Donny Cates, Gary Brown, Mark Englert, and Taylor Esposito. This book was about the son of the devil, and it ended about like you would expect that book to end, 120 years in the future. There's a confrontation between the son and the devil, and I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but it's pretty outstanding and violent and bloody and all of the things you would expect.
I mean,
Family Matters.
You've loved this book the entire run. Like,
I really have. Yeah. I wasn't sure what it was at first. Right. It was a good horror book that developed into a version of, something not quite horrific, but still had horror elements.
Was that the book he did at Aftershock?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Yes. I was trying to remember.
I should have said that.
Oh, no, that's fine. I know you had him doing that at Aftershock, and then the other book, the Redneck, was at Image, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Redneck is an Image book, yeah. The other book I read, and I had dropped off of this series quite a while back, but it was the end of the Spencer run on Amazing Spider-Man. It's issue number 74, of course, Marvel. This had like 4 or 5 backup stories, so it was Spencer, Bagley, Carlos, Ferreira, Gomez, Neves, Fiorelli, Ramos, Sinclair, Delgado, pretty much everybody worked on it. I hadn't read the books leading up to this, but this was a fantastic ending. Honestly, I've been pretty hard on Spencer throughout this run and have only read... I've jumped in and like tried to read an issue here and there to see if I was ready to get back into it, and it just hasn't clicked for me.
Right.
But this last issue was really, really good.
Nice.
Yeah. Had Doctor Strange in it, bargaining for Harry Osborn's soul with Mephisto, and one of the backup stories is 2 pages of a real cartoony Spider-Man telling the history of Spider-Man. And he's like, "Oh, I get 2 pages to do this in? I better get hurry." It's so it was kind of funny. And then third book I read was Nightwing number 84. Tom Taylor, Robbie Rodriguez, and Adriano Lucas. The thing about this book that stands out, if you took Tom Taylor's amazing writing out of this book, Robbie Rodriguez is absolutely killing it with the art in this book. Just absolutely beautiful. I assume you're reading it based on...
I'm not, but I'm a big fan of Robbie Rodriguez. But I have seen, like, the internet loves this book. So, like, if I log on to Twitter or I log on to Instagram, at least in my circles, it never fails. I'm not going to scroll more than, like, 4 or 5 posts before I see somebody, like, singing this book's praises.
The internet is usually wrong, but it's not in this case. This book's outstanding, and so it ties into the Fear State stuff that's happening in the Batman books, if you're reading Batman. And Nightwing goes back to Gotham to help out, and he gets immediately attacked by drones and other stuff. The other stuff, let me be a little bit more clear than the drones and the RoboCops, whatever they're calling them.
Citizen One or...
Yeah, so... and he happens to be in Crime Alley when it happens. And Batman shows up and helps him. and gives him. He's like, "Why are you here? You need to be taking care of Bloodhaven. You're doing an amicable job there." And Dick goes, in Bruce praise, that's about as glowing as it gets, you know. And then he says, Bruce, I had that handled. You didn't have to show up. He's like, yeah, but I was over here, and And finally he goes, listen, I watched my parents die in that alley. I wasn't going to watch my son die in that alley. It was a real kind of poignant thing, but even if you took away the terrific writing, it's worth the price of admission to look at that beautiful art that's in that book.
Nice. Yeah. Big fan of so I need to go check out this and get caught up because I've heard nothing but high praise.
Yeah, I mean, jump on at where Tom Taylor started, which I think was around 78, somewhere in there, 75 maybe. Everything since he's been on it's been nothing but fantastic.
Dude, the covers alone, from what I've seen on the shelf, where they're showing there's that one that's gorgeous, but they've got the ones that show Dick in like the action sequences where he's just like flipping. Yeah, it's stunning. I love covers that do that. That do like sequential work. That to me, it's that kind of thing. People will argue. A comic book has to be at least 2 panels juxtaposed next to each other to tell a story. No, you can do a comic in 1 panel. You just have to show motion. Yep. And it does a really good job of that.
Yep, absolutely a beautiful, amazing book everybody should be reading.
Nice. Well, Matt, what kept you occupied in Scottsdale this week?
Well, work kept me occupied in Scottsdale. So I didn't pick up my books until yesterday afternoon. So I had to squeeze all my reading in late yesterday. One of the things I picked up based on a text I got at 3 a.m. from my buddy Mike Nelson was Marvel Sword number 8. I'm not reading Sword. I've read the first issue and it just didn't do anything for me. But when I get a text at 3 a.m. recommending a book, I figure I better check it out. Yeah. And some issues amazing. Specifically, if you're a fan of Storm, the X-Men character, this is an excellent, just full, comic book issue about Storm and reminding people exactly why she should be in charge. Yeah. At least sometimes she gets in 2 different confrontations in this book and handles them in 2 different ways, and they are epic. Al Ewing writing Storm is spot on, incredible. Jerry Duggan has written, some Storm earlier this year as part of the X-Line. He has killed it. Both of those guys have an excellent grasp for this character and her strengths. So, yeah, I'm not reading the series, but I picked that 1 issue up, and it's excellent.
I got a similar text from him, and then when I said, oh, well, that's pretty amazing, he said, no, dude, this is possibly the best single issue comic book I've ever read.
Nice.
So I'm going to pick it up while we're here today and throw it in my box.
It's damn good.
I know you said it was Mike Nelson that did it. That dude has he has unbridled joy when it comes to especially superhero comics. Like that dude just loves some comics. Like it never like even if it's stuff that everybody else is just kind of like lukewarm on or even trash. And he's like, dude, what are you talking? Like the Avengers. We all like not hyped on. He's like, oh my god, it's the best. I'm just like,
He loves his superhero comics, but to get a text at 3 a.m. telling me that it's the best book he's ever read, that's a pretty astounding.
Well, what's funny is he knows how I feel about the character Storm,
right?
So his text is like, take me serious. This is amazing, and then he just sent me like 12. Black arm flex, so that's all it was, and I'm like, okay, I got it. This means something. So
that's all you needed.
Fire and flex arm emojis. That's all it was.
Yeah. Also from Marvel, I read Inferno number 1 from Jonathan Hickman, Valerio Schiti, and David Curiel. I didn't give the art team back on the book on Sword and Blade. I just realized. So my bad. Let me go back and do that because now I feel like an asshole. So the art team on that. Last name is Villanova. I don't know how to pronounce the first name. Guiu. So what that one, kids. And then Fernando Cifuentes is the color artist. Back to Inferno. So here we are. Very aptly titled Inferno. Yeah. Have you guys read this?
I have. It's on my list. On my stack. I didn't get to it this weekend.
This this is an excellent issue. I mean,
I
it is.
heard as much.
It's very text heavy.
Yeah.
But there's every word balloon is delivering. Frankly, I mean, you read it. You need to read every word balloon because it is delivering, and everyone has gravity. And that last page on this is like. The last page on this is like, this shit just got real, basically. So
and this is the last of the Hickman stuff on.
This is allegedly, him
stuff.
wrapping up his storyline world that he built, and there's so much good in this book.
This is the moment that I've been waiting for, and I haven't read it yet, but just from the previews alone, I mean, essentially we're gonna get the final like come to Jesus moment with Mystique and Destiny.
That's what it lines up to.
Mataggart.
I just want Sabretooth to be released, and I want it to happen now. So
him and Monet to
you're
get their
aggressive this
relationship back
morning.
together.
Sabretooth has been
Less
locked
coffee,
up
brother.
for well over a year, and it's a disservice. It's a disservice to the Marvel Universe and to the people that are giving their money to it.
I mean, but imagine how swole he's going to be when he comes out. That man's been doing nothing but push-ups the whole time.
I want this chaos, and I want this violence unleashed, and only one man can stop him, and we all know who that is.
One man can stop it.
Mr. Sinister.
Oh, my God.
I'm joking.
So, third on my short stack from DC is Batman Reptilian. This is book 4 from Garth Ennis and Liam Sharp. Anybody read this?
So I saw this on your stack when you set it down earlier, and I thought, how did I forget about Batman Reptilian? I have not picked up an issue since the first one, so another book I'm going to have to go
I'm getting them all.
scramble for the series.
Yeah.
Things just got weird. Weird.
Yeah.
This took I've read this when I got finished with it. I was like, this feels like a Judge Dredd 2000 AD story that he wrote back in the early 90s. That's what this feels like. It just takes that weird turn that 2000 AD stories used to take.
Plus, the cover looks like something from a Sandman book.
A little bit. Yeah.
Creepy baby, weird.
In a sewer.
Yeah. It's just, it's
Bad parenting.
bad parenting skills.
No, I haven't read this issue yet, but I am reading all of these books because they are amazing. This is so Liam Sharp, because of this, I mean, just because he's Liam Sharp also, but specifically because of this, is in like my very, very short list of like artist of the year. Like the work he's doing on this is phenomenal.
Liam Sharp's been killing it for about 3 years now.
I mean, just
not that he hasn't always been good, but his work as of late.
There's been a spotlight on him.
Yeah, the dude is a machine.
I think that's probably the best way to put it. All of a sudden, you're more aware of his work because of what he's working on.
Yeah. Well, we always say, like, good art can save a bad story, but bad writing can't save, or good writing can't save bad art. And for me, like, Liam Sharp's the only reason. Well, I always say that. I think
I say that too. Yeah.
But Liam Sharp's that's the only reason I finished off the Grant Morrison Green Lantern thing, was just because he was I have no idea what happened, but I just continued to pick it up because I just wanted to look at it. I didn't read it, just flipped through the pages.
Yeah. It was really weird too, because that was a book that when you looked at the line work versus the finished product, it was almost a disservice to color that book.
Yeah, that's probably true of most Liam Sharp things.
Yeah,
just stunning stuff. Well, Matt kicked off something. He's said he was talking about Al Ewing and Storm. So the first book on my short stack actually has both of those characters, and it is the kind of, at least what appears to be the final issue of Al Ewing on Guardians of the Galaxy. It's issue 18. This is drawn by Juan Fergiri, and Federico Bleed did the colors on it. Really, really exciting kind of wrap up to what's been going on. If you haven't been following this, long story short, Doctor Doom is now on Guardians of the Galaxy, or at least like temporary, helping those folks out. But
seems perfectly reasonable.
He's Doom, so he's always going to be working an angle. But throwing back to some Doctor Strange stuff, since we talked about Doctor Strange last week, Dormammu can't enter the universe because of some stuff with Doctor Strange, but he finds a way to take over Ego's planet, Ego, the living planet, and that's the way he's going to like force himself into the universe. And it was just a stunning kind of culmination of that entire story with, some really fun, exciting
Plus it's got
fight
Dormammu's son in
scenes.
it. Or
No, so Dormammu's son was in the last.
You were flipping through it. I thought I saw him in there.
No. So Doyle Dormammu, who is an adorable little character from Strange Academy, he's not in this, but there are some other Dormammu-esque type folks in this.
I just saw you flipping through, and I'm like, that's that same design. Let me talk about something I haven't read.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, so there are some of those. Essentially, they're on an alien planet, and there are creatures with like fire heads. So like it just flipping through, it makes sense that you would go there. But look, it's a superhero story, so like it's not spoiling anything to let you know that hey, the superheroes are successful, like they win. Go find out how. It's really fun. But they kind of wrap up a whole bunch of different story things. The last page on this is wonderful because it's got all of the characters that show up in this together, all of the people who are guardians, but. At the end of it, when they're kind of splitting up and talking about going their separate ways, Storm is there because she played a role in this, and she's talking about some folks. She's like, "Hey, look, Araco is there for you if you need it. If you need to do some stuff on Mars, you need to get away, go there." So it was great to see like her jump back in and play a role in this.
I love that she's queen of the planet now.
Yeah, and just talking about the people who are on this, you've got Wiccan and Hulkling, who I'm a big fan of, and there's just Hercules is in this, and obviously
she said this is the last Al Ewing book. The last one in the Guardians.
Yeah, as far as I know, I don't. It like the last page says the end.
Okay.
See you at Gosnell's, which is the bar. So I don't know if they're gonna if it's just the end of Al Ewing's run and issue 19 is gonna have another person on it, or if this is like the end of whatever volume of the Guardians this is. In the middle,
no one knows anymore. Least of all Marvel.
I don't fight it. I just pick up what I want to read. Just gonna keep doing it. And then I have the app that tells me where to put it in my long boxes. Also, a book that I've really, really been enjoying, and a book that kind of wraps up an arc, but is not the end of the series, is from Vault Comics. It's Vampire the Masquerade. I fucking love this book. Like, it just hits, it strikes all my fancies. So this is written by Tim Seeley, drawn by Devmila Promick and Corin Howell. And there's a backup story called The Anarch Tales that's written by Teenie Howard and Blake Howard, drawn by Nathan Gooden. All of these stories are colored by Addison Duke and lettered by Ann World Design. In this book, the Camarilla has been at war, and there has been kind of an enforcer who has been working her way up. They were betrayed by somebody that wasn't supposed to betray them, which is how betrayal happens. Funny that way. And some hearts are broken, but it weirdly puts our hero, quote-unquote hero of the story, in a position to take over some power that she does not want, which is what's going to make her a good leader. The backup story is great. I want to play Vampire the Masquerade with Teenie Howard. So freaking bad. It's like on my list of accomplishments to get this year, right above graduating from law school. If I can just do that, I'll feel like I won something. But really cool part of it, they run into a pack of lycanthropes at the end of it. We haven't seen the werewolves in these books. We've seen them at a distance, but we haven't seen them come in. Seeing this is going to be really, really fun. And then last but not least, another series that is near and dear to my heart. We have Harrow County, or Tales from Harrow County, I should say, number 3, The Fair Folk. This is created, obviously, by Cullen Bunn and Tyler Crook. Cullen Bunn happened to write this particular issue, art by Emily Schnall, with lettering by Tyler Crook. And this is great. Bernice is still deep down in a cave, and she has made some moves that has set free a golem, so to speak, that it looks a lot like Emmy, if Emmy was a scarecrow, but also might be Hester Beck. We're not real sure. And then the Haints have, like, they have used it as a vehicle to set them free. The townsfolk all remember what happened now. Everybody's terrified. The shit's hitting the fan. And now our dynamic duo of Bernice and her girlfriend have to make a deal with some goblins and go find the Fairy Queen before they can go kick ass.
Is Haints a word he created for his, or is it a real thing?
So it's a real thing. So it's a very, it's a, I want to say it's a Southernism, but I'm pretty sure it's Southernism, but it's from like the eastern part of the South in the mountains and stuff. Like, I grew up hearing about them. It's goblins. It's
I mean, contextually, I was able to pick up what they were. It was just I had never heard that word before reading Harrow County.
It's a Southernism, but it's just take on the word haunts. And so, like I said, I grew up hearing people, like old people, talk about Haints out in the South, and we have all these urban legends out from where I live in South, in like the Delta, about creatures that live in the woods and stuff. But there was a time, like right when Harrow County was just kind of kicking in, where there were several books that were revisiting the concept of haints at once.
Gotcha.
And as somebody who's interested in Southern literature, I was just having a field day. So, but yeah, that's my short stack. Good books all around.
Awesome.
If you want to know more about what your favorite comic book podcast hosts are reading throughout the week, you should check us out on our social media sites. You can just type in the search bar. You can find our Facebook group where folks are posting. They're talking about books, movies, video games, memes, fun stuff, and you can join that community if you haven't already. You can also check us out on Instagram and the Twitters. We're at SFG Podcast on both of those. Or hell, send me your pull list. Fire off an email at southernfriedgeekery@gmail.com because we love to hear from the folks who listen to the podcast, mainly because we love to talk about comics. We don't just talk about these things one day a week. Our lives are kind of inundated with them constantly because we're fans. We're fans of the medium. So connect with us. We'd love to know what stuff you're enjoying. So on that note, speaking of things that we enjoyed, I hope, at least from this past week, we did our usual thing. We got together and we said, hey, let's do a roundtable book. Let's all pick the same book. We'll read it. We'll digest it. We'll let it live in our brains for a little bit, and we'll come meet together over coffee and a podcast, and we'll talk about it. And we did that again this week. But as always, I want to issue kind of a spoiler warning that because, look, there's no way you can really dig into the meat of these things without kind of saying what happens and giving it its due diligence and giving the book a fair shake. So if you haven't read Deathstroke Inc., #1, hit that little pause button and go grab it. Buy it off Comixology, pull it out of your pull list, go pick it up at your local comic shop and check it out. And then come back and hear our thoughts on it. Before we just get into to what this book is, how did it treat you guys?
Treated me well.
Nice.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
I thought it was fun. Visual treat. Like, I enjoyed all aspects of it, but just the art alone was worth the price of admission for me. And it's a $3.99 book, so that's not bad either. Nowadays, if I pick up a comic and it's not $5, I'm happy. Or $6 even. So, nice. I'm glad we all kind of like this.
Draw the line at $1.99.
Yeah, that line got smashed with a sledgehammer. Wasn't it in the new 52?
It was $2.99.
Was it $2.99?
Yeah.
Oh, when the
DC.
That was after the new 52. They did the relaunch, and they were going to do twice a month for $2.99. And
so you were getting $6 worth of books.
Yeah. They drew that line, and it just was the starting point. I think
that was the starting line. That's what they didn't tell you.
So yeah, let's jump into this book. This is written by Josh Williamson. This is drawn by Howard Porter. Hi-Fi is the colorist with Steve Wands on the letters. Howard Porter and Hi-Fi did a kick-ass cover on it. If you picked up one of the variant covers, you may have gotten the Francesco Mattina cover or the Dina Imanov cover. A lot of folks worked on this. We should say that Deathstroke was created by Marv Wolfman and one of my personal favorites, Mr. George Perez, with Superboy, who has a little blip in here, created by Jerry Siegel with a special engagement with the Jerry Siegel family. So what is this book, Deathstroke Inc., you might be asking? And that's a good question. So essentially, it all starts with a little trust, like all relationships should start with trust, except in this case, trust is not a mutual understanding with two people. Trust is an organization. It is the Transparent Researchers United for Strategy and Technology, and that's a hell of a mouthful. So they just
trust is much easier to say.
Yeah, they just limited it to trust. And this is
never trust a company with an acronym for their name, though. Even if that name is trust.
Did we learn nothing from S.H.I.E.L.D.? And so trust is this kind of like hodgepodge, newly thrown together organization of kind of techno nerd spy people. They're geared towards trying to break this organization called Hive. I mean, they're doing some other stuff too, but that's really what they're in the business of doing right now. And they have
bonus points if you know what Hive stands for.
I could not tell you.
I couldn't either.
I don't.
I probably knew at one point.
Interesting that they didn't actually put that in there, because they did a good job of putting what like trust stood for and telling you everybody else, but they didn't label what Hive.
I'll look it up while you continue.
Anyway, the Hive has created this village, and it's one of those places that it's storybook. Everybody's happy, everybody's nice, and the trust has enlisted this team of, you might call them superheroes. Some of them are not as heroic as others, but they want to infiltrate it because they don't have any trust in them, ironically enough. and they need to get down to what they're doing. And they've sent in somebody. They've sent in somebody in disguise to kind of figure out what's going on. And she's not feeling it, and she needs to get to the bottom of it. But before she does that, somebody just rolls in hot in a Batmobile and just proceeds to open up a can of whoop-ass all over this town. I mean, knocking over carts, running people over. And, you know, the person who is in disguise is like, what are you doing, bro? You've just, like, ruined, like, the element of surprise. And open comes the hatch, and who pops out? None other than Deathstroke in a fucking beautiful spread. Just one of the best spreads that I've seen. Like, just made my heart happy to see it. And he jumps out with a Gatling gun and proceeds to just unload on all of these people. Like, you know, death ensues. But what do you think? What do you think should happen when you open up on it? Number one, this is not an invitation to find out. Let's establish that. Gun, shoot, you know. Like, let's just not do that.
You should probably never do what superheroes do in comic books. That's probably a good...
Or villains.
Or villains,
specifically.
Yeah, you should probably just stay away from whatever they do in...
Right, but based on our consumption of pop culture and movies and special effects, we'll say that. What do you think should happen to a crowd full of people if they get set upon by an individual with a Gatling gun?
Turn into bees?
See, that would not be at the top of my list, but that's exactly what happens. Like, all of these bees just flow out of these skin sacks of people who are apparently not... They were people.
I can't believe that wasn't at the top of your list.
Look, I mean, some things
it was
are
totally
just
at the top of my
surprising.
list.
I was just thinking like that scene from Blade, the first Blade movie, where just blood showers happening, but that's not what happens. These people just kind of just open up and bees fly out, and so our woman who has infiltrated this place starts snatching off her wig, taking off her disguise.
That's a combination of weave and wig.
Look, you watch 3 episodes of RuPaul, and all of a sudden you can't speak anymore. I even use snatched. That's a drag phrase. And it's Black Canary. This person who was working this angle is, you know, Black Canary, who is working alongside Deathstroke. Like, these are things that should not happen. It kind of baffles the mind. So there are things that have gone on in the world that have brought these two individuals. You know, look, what's that phrase? Politics makes some weird bedfellows. That's kind of exactly what's happening here. Like, this effort to undermine Hive has brought together individuals that should be at each other's throats, and they're forced to work together. And we don't really know all of what brought them here. The book tells us a little bit, but there's an angle there that I think you have to kind of understand and experience yourself. It's not something that I want to completely drop, because they do this really cool thing where they're showing you some backstory in gray and stuff that kind of hint towards what might be happening. But they you know, like we know about Hive is always led by a queen, and so they manage to circumvent some of the rest of the, you know, bee humans, who Hive has given them this weird formula or something.
I mean, just because they're bees doesn't mean they're a lesser class than
look, no judgment. I love the bees. Sadly enough, the bees got put on the endangered species list for the first time.
Well, to be clear, these are mecha bees. They aren't actual bees.
These are evil bees. These are
your love of these bees is completely misplaced.
I mean, if they make honey, though. But no, so Hive has like put nanotech in these folks and turned, like, you know, liquefied their organs and turned them into, as Matt said, mecha bees, which is a badass phrase that should be a comics title.
Thank you.
And so Black Canary and Deathstroke,
Matt copyrights that phrase.
Right? He's trademarked that. He's said it. Actually, you have to write it down. So as long as you put it on paper, it is copyrighted.
Can't wait to go to the bank with that money.
They are able to corner, or at least find out where the Hive Queen is working. And, you know, she's in this little unassuming house, white picket fence, you know, being kind of a 50s housewife. She's got breakfast cooking, you know, lots of free time, and to do some idle hands devil's workshop shit, apparently. And she, you know, made some honey lemonade. And as soon as they walk in, she just unleashes honey. Like, she unleashes hell, and she sprays them with all of this kind of ichor goo, and she's got like a table full of kids
ichor
and
goo. There's a phrase I didn't expect.
Family who's got
honey
like
is.
got like a tap in his chest to get the honey out. It's just nastiness, right? Like she is not a pleasant person, and has taken something sweet and bastardized it, which really hurts my feelings.
Honey's gross.
Yeah, it's kind of. I mean, honey is meant for like cereal and sex. Don't do bad deeds with it.
It's insect vomit. No thanks.
Drizzle a little bit on there and just never mind. I was talking about the cereal. But as they're trying to escape, as Deathstroke Deathstroke and Black Canary realize that they're in over their heads, Black Canary calls in an airstrike. Right? She's like, "I need you to explodey this building right now. Shit's gone south. We've got the queen, but we need you to make stuff happen." And they do, out of nowhere. Big laser from space, just kaboom. House explodes. They've got the queen, and they're taking her. Our friends at Trust are sending an air pickup to get them out of there. But Deathstroke and Black Canary, this ain't their first rodeo, right? Like, they kind of have a trust nobody attitude about everything. Black Canary does her thing where she just, like, hyper-pitched sounds, and it knocks out comms for a second. And she's like, okay, so, like, Deathstroke, we need to get something straight. We've got a moment here where we can talk in silence. What angle are you working? What are you doing here? Why are you trying to do this? You're a villain. You shouldn't be trying to help people. And, Slade takes off his helmet and is just like, I've lived a bad life and I'm dying. And then he laughs because none of that's true. He's just a fucking asshole because he's Slade Wilson, and why would he not go there? And he's just like, he just lays it out. It's like, look, I don't just get to run off into the sunset. I need to I've got red in my ledger. I need to balance some scales. There are some wrongs that need to be righted here, and I don't trust Hive. I think, and she's like, hey, dude, I don't either. So we got to keep working together, and we're gonna go from there. And that's kind of where this story wraps up at, with them getting back and with us realizing that, in fact, trust is not to be trusted. There's some Machiavellian machinations happening behind the scenes there. So
nice alliteration.
I know, right?
So Hive stands for Hierarchy of International Vengeance and Extermination.
That's a mouthful too. Like, when you put vengeance in your name, just expect bad things to happen in general. So yeah, dude, I thought this was fun. I'm confused about one thing though, and this is not a bad confused, not good confused, just confused. I don't understand why it's called Deathstroke Inc. Like, I guess we're going to see that as we come forward. But like,
I would imagine it's going to flesh out.
Yeah. So, but I just kind of was reading. I was like, "Where's the like?" It seems like when I thought
the
Deathstroke
synopsis
Inc.
explained it.
Oh, that's true.
I didn't read the synopsis.
Yeah, I didn't either. I just flipped through there.
Yeah.
I read.
I don't read synopsis. I read comics, not for the prose in them.
Well, I normally do. So break the synopsis down for us, Matt. What's the?
Well, so the synopsis is that as the series continues, he's teaming up with different people in the DC universe.
Yeah.
To cash in, I guess you would say.
So it's going to be kind of like the Taskmaster book, I guess, where he works with different people. What, didn't Taskmaster?
No,
maybe not.
No,
okay.
I think
not like that at all.
Just went over.
That's Marvel. That's not DC.
Well, I'm aware of that. Thanks.
Nah, I was wondering.
So what I was wondering though, when I saw the ink, my initial
I know
thing
you think
was,
I'm an idiot, but I'm not that dumb.
When I first read it, I got put in the memory of Batman Inc. and Batman and Robin Incorporated, where they had different artists doing every other issue, and where it was setting up kind of the Batman family. So that brought me back to that, and I wonder if is Porter going to be on all the issues, or
the way the synopsis read.
Yeah, so it could be. So that was just where I was very confused at. But above the board, this is a fun story. It's energetic.
The artwork's freaking great.
The action art is spectacular, and the colors just blow your mind.
Dude, they are like, as a creative team.
Yeah,
dude, Porter and Hi-Fi are on some next level shit. Like I said, that spread on Deathstroke where he bops out with the Gatling gun. He starts shooting, and there is just an array of color that pop out of this, and it just really does explode off the page. And it's got the word Deathstroke behind him. It really reminded me of just with the color choices and the kinetic energy of it all, reminded me of something like the Harley Quinn movie where it just blasts out.
Yeah,
I can see that
opening scene reminded me a lot of that. And then. So I was talking with our buddy Hassan Thalji, who does the Gotham by Geeks podcast over on the Taylor Network, and he was telling me a little bit about Howard Porter's history, because he's been around for a long time. He did a lot of work in the 90s, but he he had some health issues that he like lost the use of his hands for a little bit.
Damn.
That's a bad thing for an artist.
Yeah, and had to relearn to draw. And so this is if you go back and look at some of the 90s stuff, this is a completely different look.
Okay, so I'm not crazy, because that's what I thought.
Yeah.
I thought, wow, okay, he changed his style.
Yeah,
wow, okay.
This style has more of almost like a Riley Rossmo feel. To me, and there's like a little bit of
So I felt like a Joe Mads.
I can see Joe Mads in there too. Well, and that's funny you say Joe Mads because I see a little bit of our buddy John Lucas, like some of that style, and I think John Lucas, there's like
I certainly see that in the
tree.
facial construction of the characters.
Just really great, especially and for me, it reminded me a lot of like Rossmo's earlier work, where he still was developing a style, but it's in that vein. He uses, uses a lot of zip tone, and I don't know if he's drawing digitally or not, but works in the sound effects in a really cool, almost the way he does the sound effects reminded me of Daniel Warren Johnson's stuff, where he makes the sound effects like part of the structure. I thought it was really, really cool. And again, you look at these pages where they're fighting the Hive Queen, and there's so much gold on the page that when you do that, for me, if you look at somebody at pages that use a lot of monocolor, it runs the risk of like washing out the page. Does not do this here. Like they use everything in just the perfect amount.
The coloring is absolutely outstanding in this book.
Yeah.
Just a win. And like the look on the Hive Queen's face when she's like attacking them is just pure fucking evil. It's unsettling. The character designs, the little hive kids, creepy kids.
The hive kids were amazing.
Just, when that one just body morphs into like a weird bee thing.
It's Cronenbergian.
No,
almost, yeah.
Across the board. But no, like I'm looking forward to this. Like I'm going to go, I haven't signed up for it, but I'm going to. Especially because Guardians of the Galaxy just ended, and so that knocks something off my pull list, so I have room. I love a good spy story. I love Dinah. She is. I don't think it's fair to say that she's one of my favorite characters from the DC universe, but I enjoy Black Canary. I think she's fun. I like stories where she takes kind of front and center. She's kind of a cool character. She's witty. She's sassy. She's smart. I enjoy reading about her history. They make
fishnets.
Fishnets don't hurt. She's she's not unattractive at all. They even make a joke in here about her relationship with Ollie that like when you're reading it cracked me up. So we might see Green Arrow pop up in here, and
it'll be interesting to see which characters they bring in.
Yeah.
And
I want to know more about Trust, I want to know more about what's happening with these group of people and kind of what weird angle. Like I said, I enjoy spy stories. I enjoy that
Shang-Chi is
stuff.
the book I was thinking of where they were just bringing in, and I realize it's a Marvel book, but they were bringing in other characters in each issue. I knew there was a book of it. It's been bothering me since I said that.
Was that the one that was drawn by Dave Wachter?
I don't know. It's the one that just is ongoing right now or wrapping up right now.
Okay.
We did the first issue as a roundtable.
Okay, so that wasn't the Dave... No, the Dave Wachter book was an Iron Fist book that he did, I think. So
either way, that's a book where every issue had a different team up.
How's that been? Have you kept up with that?
I did not keep up with it.
Okay.
I didn't mean to derail this.
No, that's cool.
I did. It's been bothering me since I said that. I'm like, I know there's a book I read that had that same kind of thing.
But you were talking about the Taskmaster. You weren't. So it wasn't a different team member. It was he went after a different.
Yeah,
villain
he was
time.
attacking somebody in it
to kind of take over their power. So I mean, like,
it's similar that there was a different person that he was.
Yeah, I picked up on the thread that you were laying down. So,
Matt's over there twitching. So
it's like that one book. Did you read it? No. Who was on it? I don't
know. But no, dude, I'm down. And another thing I thought was really cool, and this spins out of some of the other stories that have been happening kind of in the Bat office, so to speak, and it deals with Bruce Wayne, like, having been raided and getting, losing all of his money and kind of being, but, like, they're using a lot of Bat tech here. It's going to be cool to see what Slade Wilson can do, with a warehouse full of, Batarangs and Bat mechs and Bat planes and Bat cars and all of these things.
Bat snacks.
Dude, don't.
I could use a Bat snack.
I could definitely use a Bat snack. I may take one when I get home.
Anybody have a utility belt with a bat snack in it?
That's what you need for cons. just pop one open like the fanny pack from hell.
That's what they call Cheetos at cons.
Bat snacks.
Bat snacks. Yeah. Cheeto dust around comics. Ugh, makes my skin crawl. But yeah, so pull lists.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll be staying on this.
Very cool. So
yeah.
All right, that makes me happy.
Yeah, I don't know that it's anything groundbreaking, but it's worth the read.
It's
and
fun.
It's worth the
Like there's books that I expect like groundbreaking work from.
Yeah,
And
this
then
isn't that book.
There's
but
books that I
it's,
just want to be entertained by, and this book entertains me.
Yep. It had funny moments. It had violent moments. It had a little bit of everything for everybody.
Yeah, and
It had a sweet mom to making breakfast for her kids. I mean, it had everything.
Well, and it played into some continuity and stuff, and I thought that was cool because you don't get that a lot from a lot of side books, but it did a good job of just like, hey, it's like here's some stuff that's happening, and you don't need to read this book to carry on with what anything else that's happening, and you really don't need to read another book to know what's happening in here. But it's a fun nod
Because I'm not reading the Batman. What is it? Urban
Legends.
Yeah, that it's spinning out from, I guess. So.
That's right.
Well, they actually put an editorial note in here. Amazingly enough, they put an editorial note in a book to tell you which book it was spitting out of.
That's actually interesting, though, because it answers a question. I thought about that when I was reading, but it answers a question that I had about another one of the Batman Urban Legends stuff, because we were having this conversation a while back. So is Urban Legends taking place outside of continuity, or is this just kind of a...
Apparently not.
It's called Urban Legends, so we don't know if this is real or not.
Well, the Urban Legends book has like 3 to 4 different stories in it.
Yeah.
Well, one of them's Batman. Because I picked up the first few of them. One was a Batman story. One was a Red Hood story. And then
there was a way to give Bat Family stories without having to have 10 Bat Family books going on.
Well,
which they do.
Yeah, I mean they've got.
They still do anyway.
Yeah.
So,
but there's only like 2 or 3 you actually have to read for like ongoing continuity. But the reason I found that interesting is because in I think it's Urban Legends number 6, Tim Drake, Red Robin, comes out as bisexual, and so we were having this conversation. I think it might have been Craig and I know I was having it with some,
or
no,
bisexual.
Bisexual.
Okay.
Yeah. He meets this boy and they're supposed to go on a date. So, but we were having this conversation about, is this just kind of a, out of continuity tale where somebody wanted to say things, or is this going to have bleed over into the main titles, into because you didn't know, but I think this kind of solidifies it. Like Red Robin in the DC universe is bi, and that's pretty cool. Like it opens up a whole like new level of stories that he can tell.
It definitely tells us that what's happening in the Urban Legend stuff is real.
Yeah, it's like
or canon. I mean, obviously
real.
Let's clarify real there. It's in the canonical universe.
And I think that's neat. Like that makes me happy to know that you can we might get some actual stories about Tim Drake and having a boyfriend, and then going back and having this kind of bisexual life.
It'd just be nice to have a Tim Drake book.
Well, that's true.
I mean,
yeah, I hope they really do dive into the fact that he's bi, because that's something you either have characters that are straight or you have characters that are gay. Other than like Harley Quinn, you don't see a lot of like just actual people being bi, or it'll be bisexual people, but they only sleep with the same sex. So
I don't know
Marvel, but Dawkins is bi.
I mean, Deadpool, isn't that a thing?
Deadpool
That's
Deadpool.
Also Marvel, not DC.
Yeah, but you also see. I mean, you've got Hercules is bi, but so it's cool to see some of that being brought out, and because there's a lot of bi erasure that happens, you either get gay or straight. So I think that's great. So then this book kind of answered that question. So
awesome,
fun stuff. Thank you for reminding me about that. So October is a cool month, right? Like the leaves are changing.
Scary movies about
scary Christmas. Yeah, scary movies are just
scary Christmas. That is what I'm calling Halloween from now on.
Well, that's what it is.
Scary Christmas. That is the new.
What was the Jack Skellington movie just popped into my head?
Oh, Nightmare Before Christmas.
But yeah, the air's getting crisper. It's a great month for me. I've got an anniversary and a birthday this month.
Finally got some rain for the first time.
Yeah, no shit. It's been raining for like 2 days. I don't know if that's a Halloween thing, but that's definitely it's been dry as hell.
I haven't had to mow in like 2 months. It's been
oh my
great.
god!
I was going to say I'm not complaining about that part, but there's another thing happening this month.
I love when I make Matt laugh.
There's actually 2 really cool things that's happening this month. One of them has already happened. We got the Sopranos prequel. So we got to see the Many Saints of Newark, which I have not seen yet. So I'm not going to. Well, I know Craig's watched it.
I have not watched it.
I've not watched it yet.
Yeah, I'm going to the theater to see it, or at least I want to.
I'll watch it at home, but
Yeah.
I'm trying to power through some more episodes. I know it's a prequel and it shouldn't matter, but
I'm on the end of season 5 in my Sopranos watching. It's so good. Actually,
I finally am in season 2.
Side note, remind me to send you / post this really good article I read about The Sopranos and how it's resurgence in pop culture. That actually is it's outside of just there being a prequel. Like they're like streaming numbers even before the prequel for The Sopranos was going up. And there's this guy who writes this really good article about why, and it's really great. And I was exactly like last week years old when I put 2 and 2 together and realized that Many Saints translates to Moltisanti in Italian. So I don't know why, but yeah, that clicked. A buddy of mine at school told me.
Nice.
So, made me that's pretty great. The other cool thing that's happening.
I don't get that reference, but I'm sure I will.
Chris Moltisanti.
Oh,
That's
gotcha.
yeah, that's
Okay, I
that's
didn't
Chris's
realize
last
that
name.
was his last
Yep.
name.
And so so like this, I'm expecting to
And
get
Vicky
a lot.
Moltisanti was okay. Sorry.
Yeah, preach.
Matt's going to go off on a whole
We
tangent
start.
here.
If I start, I can't stop.
Matt actually did some of these like Sal hand movements when he did that. So, but the other cool thing that happens at the end of this month, on I think the 20th, is we are getting. Matt's been waiting for this. I think we've all been waiting for this.
He doesn't know the exact date.
No, I don't. I don't know any exact.
I didn't
dates
know the
right now.
exact date.
You don't know the exact date.
I don't. So tell us the exact date, Matt.
It's the 22nd.
22nd. Okay, I was 2 days off. I want it to be sooner for your sake, but it's not. But it is. We are getting finally after much hype, after much excitement, and after a few pushbacks, we're getting Dune. Everybody clap your hands. We are getting the.
None of us clap.
I clapped. I quiet clapped.
Bad audio.
Because we're recording.
Bad audio.
But we are getting what is essentially like the film of the decade, I think, for us. Science fiction based off of the book that pretty much laid the groundwork for a whole lot of
We're
science
only 1
fiction.
year in. It's kind of hard to.
What do you mean?
Of the decade.
That's fine. That makes it easier to say it's the film of the decade. Like you've got less. I mean, I was going to go.
No
10
pressure
years
on
back.
this movie to be fantastic.
So the last decade, I don't know.
I'm playing,
but,
dude. Keep going.
Yeah, I'm super excited about this. Matt, worships at the altar of Frank Herbert's Dune, as
Just
bits of
Frank's.
yeah,
dude.
just he's got a little
Nothing
shrine.
his children did.
Frank Herbert's Dune.
Yeah, just
Why?
Frank.
That's why you say it that way.
Yeah, he has got a picture
How many
of Frank.
books did he actually write?
6.
So he wrote the first 6, and then his son took over.
Yeah.
He died, I guess. And his
Yeah,
son
he
took
passed
over.
away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're all excited. So we thought, since we've kind of done this new thing where, because we missed like a week, we were doing our chaos episodes at the first of the month this time. Because like last month that kind of started, like I said, I think somebody was gone. We didn't want to do it without them. So we got together and we said, hey, let's spin the chaos episode and let's make it a Dune centric episode, but with a twist, right? So I came up with this concept because we each take turns, like we draw names out of a hat or something, and like one person picks the subject. And I said, well, we've talked about Dune, and folks who are listening to this show arguably, know basically the plot synopsis of Dune and kind of what it is. But Dune like laid the groundwork for a whole lot of stuff, and there's a lot of history there. There's a lot of ephemera. There's a lot of texture to the things that Dune created. So I said, well, here, let's frame a show around the concept of, I watched the Dune trailer and it reminded me of blank. Could be anything. It really does open the field to talking about whatever. Just things that have either a strong connection to Dune or maybe a tangent to Dune, but something that came down the pipeline from Dune. And so I think that's a really cool place to start. And again, we don't know where this conversation is going to go. We haven't conversed about it. So it's just kind of open field. So, but I mean, I think we start with the Dune fanatic himself, and we give the ball to Matt. So, Matt, you watched the Dune trailer, and it reminded you of what?
Reminded me of my love of Frank Herbert's Dune.
Just happiness.
The feeling I got, other than pure elation itself, because of Frank Herbert's Dune and
Are we keeping a counter of how many times he says that?
By the way, if
yeah, don't make this a drinking game.
If you're listening to this after 5, take a shot every time
I
you hear Matt say.
I can't recommend that.
We'll say Frank Herbert's Dune, so you got to say the full sentence. But take a shot every time he says Frank Herbert's Dune.
So whenever the director was announced, I was elated because
It wasn't David Lynch.
When I watched the Blade Runner 2049 movie, 20 minutes in, I'm like, this guy would make an amazing Frank Herbert's Dune feature. I was like, this guy would be perfect. And when he was announced as adapting it, I couldn't believe it was true. I couldn't believe it. I kept thinking, something's going to happen and this movie's going to be scuttled. These kind of things don't line up in my universe.
Yeah, Matt's like, I'm not entitled to good things.
And yeah. And then when the actors and actresses were announced of playing each role, I was like, this cannot be real. I'm in a dreamscape, because all the actors they were announcing were great. I have some reservations with a few. I'm not going to go into that because I'm still thinking positive thoughts. But overall, I mean, everything is lining up for this. Everything is lining up for this. And what it made me think of was the first Lord of the Rings trailer.
Okay.
The first Lord of the Rings, because, for decades, people said that Lord of the Rings could never be adapted.
Right.
It was one of those works that was unadaptable in so many people's minds. And the same has been said about Frank Herbert's Dune. It's unadaptable. There's too much going on. And so it reminded me of that. And also I really want these two things to line up, because Lord of the Rings did so exceedingly well.
Right.
It was so successful that we got 3 of them. That's ultimately what the director would like to do, is make 3 of these movies.
For the first book?
Well, ideally, he wants to make at least 2 for the first book.
Yeah.
But he'd like to make several of these, a Dune series, at least, and 3 he would like to do as well. In a perfect world, he would do more than that. Let's be realistic. So, and it also reminded me of Lord of the Rings because it looks incredible. I mean, aesthetically, the little glimpses we get of the world that this takes place in looks amazing, as did Lord of the Rings. It looks so much better than it deserves to, basically, given that this type of story, like Lord of the Rings, doesn't align itself to be a Hollywood blockbuster, because Hollywood blockbusters are most of the time are big, pretty, shallow works that are, and Dune is anything but that.
Well, when you say shallow, like I'm thinking like easily digestible, and Dune is not easily like there's a lot of context and a lot of like things you have to unpack there.
So what they're that's what Lord of the Rings is, what it reminded me of, is those Lord of the Rings trailers.
I can see that, because I mean they both have that big like epic feel, right? Like, and well, I mean they are both epics, even in prose form. That's kind of just what they are. But you were talking about how people said for years that they weren't digestible, and I think that's not digestible, that they weren't adaptable
to the screen. Yeah.
I think we've reached an age, because I've said the same thing for a long time about a lot of comic book stuff. Like there's no way, like when we can put something down on the page that there's no way that they can bring up to screen. I think we've reached the age now to where special effects and cameras are so advanced that it allows filmmakers to do a lot.
No, this has got nothing to do with the way it looks or the technology. This has got to do with the denseness of the material.
Yeah.
There's a great, easiest example of this is in the book. There's a hell of a lot of internal dialogue, and internal dialogue in a movie is next to impossible to pull off. That was one of the major flubs with the first Dune movie, is the internal dialogue. So it's things like that technology is not the barrier. It's just the storytelling, the difference between reading a story and watching a story on the screen.
Okay, that's
it's
fair.
just the distinct differences to how that comes across. This is a great example of that.
Okay,
and that's what I mean by unadaptable. Another book that was adapted that people said was unadaptable was American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis. or Brett, I think I might have got that backwards, Brett Ellis Easton. Well, anyway, but that was a book people said was unadaptable for a lot of the same reasons. A hell of a lot of internal dialogue and very dense work. It was adapted. Christian Bale famously played.
It was fantastic. His favorite scene from that's when he's standing in front of the mirror flexing.
Oh, man. Yeah, I could go on about that as well, that book. So yeah, that's what I mean by unadaptable is just the material itself.
But I mean, you got to be excited about the special effects. That
Oh my gosh, yes.
And I know that's not where you were going with it, but I think where I was alluding to was that the special effects are going to look brilliant in this film, and there are some things that we need modern special effects to do it justice, so that it just flows really well.
In the special effects, I'm not looking forward to the special effects so much as the world that it's set in, because something else about this work is Frank Herbert is not a descriptive novelist. Okay. He's not spending a page talking about what dinner looked like. He gives you the basics. Mm-hmm. I've mentioned this before. Sandworms couldn't be a better example. He doesn't really talk about what they look like. He doesn't go into detail. So every time Dune is adapted, whether it be in an illustration or a movie or whatever, that's one of the things I'm like, well, how are they going to interpret, what's the sandworm going to look like? Because he doesn't tell you. He doesn't tell you, what these main characters are dressed like. He does not go into any detail whatsoever. So the Bene Gesserits, how the Bene Gesserits are interpreted and what their attire looks like all this stuff is left up to each reader's mind to interpret. So how this creative team and this design team approaches that, that's something that I just can't wait to see, because you just don't get it in the book.
That's gonna be exciting. That's gonna be fun.
Oh man, I can't wait.
The only reference I have for them is from the David Lynch film, as far as what they look for too. So I'm excited to see how they make those changes. And I think Craig just made a really good point. It's because you were talking about Lord of the Rings. So I haven't, full disclosure, I haven't read Dune. I've got it at home. It's sitting on the shelf. It's something I'm going to do at some point when I get time to not read books I don't want to read. But Tolkien I've tried to read. And Tolkien is Craig said, it's the opposite. Tolkien is dense. That dude spends way too many pages telling you about the wrinkles and
dense in a different way. I haven't read Dune, but I have tried to do the audio of Dune, and I tried to do it while I was working. Okay, big mistake.
Yeah.
All of a sudden I'm like, what the hell's going on? Yeah. So it was I knew I couldn't do it that way, so I intend to read the book. Of course, I won't get it read before the movie comes out.
Yeah.
But, it sounds like the reverse of Tolkien, and that Tolkien gives you big descriptions of everything, whereas Herbert doesn't. But it's funny you said it reminded you of Lord of the Rings, because that's exactly what it reminded me of when you watch this trailer. It's so... the only word you can use is epic. Mm-hmm. It's absolutely their present. If Lord of the Rings and Star Wars had a baby, it would look like this. So that's what it looked like to me, was a combination of those two.
Now, is that your answer to the question?
Yeah.
Okay, nice. So you guys are simpatico over here.
I don't know what else you could draw it to in modern cinema that brings that kind of
gravitas.
Yeah. And has the following that, Lord of the Rings had a huge following before the movies came out.
Yeah.
Which only increased with the movies. I assume it's going to be the same thing with Dune. Dune's got a huge following, and I can only assume that if this movie hits on the same level as the Lord of the Rings movies, you're going to have the same kind of explosion in Dune stuff out there.
Yeah.
It seems like every few years we get a new property, a new whatever series that becomes the new fandom.
Yeah.
We had Lord of the Rings, we had Harry Potter, we've had all these different things throughout time. The Marvel stuff. And, Dune could very well be that next big fandom.
It doesn't lend itself to that, though, because, what's different about this 6-book series is it progresses like nothing I've ever read before. So God Emperor Dune is book 4 in the series. That takes place 2,500 years after book 3.
Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah. For example. And by the time you get to book 6, it is taken even thousands and thousands of years after the 5th book.
So I'm assuming the same characters aren't in the later books.
Some. But, what the thing is what you definitely do not get with this work is the stereotypical hero's journey.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't get that anywhere in this work.
So let me ask this of you guys. Do you think, so we're talking, like we've talked about Lord of the Rings, we've talked about Dune, and how, these things are anchored in pop culture for years, and how they've both like spurred a lot of things. Do you think that there's another property that kind of lends itself to, like, so obviously you were excited about Lord of the Rings, we're excited about Dune. There were a lot of people who were excited about Game of Thrones being made into a television show. Do you think that there's another property, or like what other properties are out there that you think would create this kind of epic film tentpole thing?
Hell of a question.
Yeah.
There's one being adapted right now, Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time series. Yeah. That's one that
certainly has the potential.
Yeah, that's one that, has a diehard following.
Yeah, our buddy Arnie, he's hyped about that.
Yeah, that's being followed. Asimov's, Asimov's Foundation series. One of the, foundations in science fiction, especially, he set the rules up for AI, automaton stories, that kind of stuff. And that's getting ready to launch any day now on Apple TV, in fact.
Okay, yeah.
The Sword of Truth series could do it, which is another high fantasy series in this kind of the same vein as Wheel of Time. Has some of the elements of Doom with the Bene Gesserit, but it has a similar type of thing. So possibly that they did a television show on it that didn't last long. But if they were to make it into a movie series, I think you could.
If somebody would faithfully adapt some of the H.P. Lovecraft stuff, that's way overdue. If they just faithfully adapted The Call of Cthulhu, that would be amazing.
I wonder if we're in a place culturally where somebody could do that right now, though.
Of course they could.
Because H.P. Well, I'm just going to say with the baggage that comes with Lovecraft.
But you have to separate the art from the artist.
Yeah, Conan the Barbarian couldn't be a better example of that.
That's also true.
Yeah. I mean, Conan's one that could use a reboot and fantasy is always kind of the place you can go to for this kind of epic fandom, because generally those stories are written to be that. Tolkien kind of started it with fantasy, but since that point, every fantasy, and it's kind of one of my complaints about fantasy, is that everyone wants to write these big epic stories instead of just telling a tale.
I'll tell you who doesn't do that, that I've read. I'm sure there's more examples of this. Joe Abercrombie. Joe Abercrombie, his writing is, I read a few of his books. And the ones that I've read, they're not epics. They're more like the Canterbury Tales.
Oh, okay.
They're character-driven stories.
Yeah.
They're not
big overarching.
Yeah, they're character. He makes really good characters in, frankly, a linear adventure type story, but very fun to read. And that's just what little I've read of his.
I came up with another one that I think would be a very good one that they could adapt, and that's the Drizzt Stewart stuff by R.A. Salvatore, which the issue there is that it's tied to Dungeons and Dragons properties. So whether people will buy into that because they would be Dungeons and Dragons movies essentially or not.
So similar to that vein, the book series that I was thinking about, and that honestly I think it would be too close to Lord of the Rings to really pull anything away, but it's the Terry Brooks, like the Sword of Shannara stuff. Very, very similar vein as that.
When you start getting into fantasy, unless you have a different take on the fantasy genre, they all can feel like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
It kind of becomes, unless it's like what Matt said, the artist he brought up, where it's not as epic. As soon as you start getting into those epic tales, it all kind of starts to feel similar. And that's not a knock, but it was a problem I had and a reason I stepped back from reading fantasy novels for such a long time.
Brandon Sanderson's Way of Kings series would make a damn good movie series.
I haven't read any of that stuff. Okay.
That would make it. It's got a, and I'll tell you another writer whose stuff would make probably a better TV show is his last name is Lynch. Oh shoot, his first name escapes. Stephen Lynch, I believe is his name, and he wrote a fantasy series about a group of con men. Yeah, really unusual. I mean, they're con men in a fantasy type story. Really cool.
That'd
really
be a different take instead of the hero's path, the
Yeah.
anti-hero or the bad guys, straight up bad guys.
Yeah. That would make a great series.
Write the Lord of the Rings from Sauron's point of view.
And this is, I say TV show because it's not an epic. It's much more episodic. I mean, they're doing scams.
Yeah.
They're doing scams.
That would be great, though.
Yeah, it's cool. It's really fun.
There's two that they've actually tried to do in the past, and they just didn't take off. But I think you could see if they would take it and break it down into a big thing and give it the stuff that it deserves, a Solomon Kane series, and then a John Carter of Mars. Because I know it's breaching out from kind of the stuff we've talked about, and like I said, they've tried to do those things.
So John Carter of Mars, that movie is much, much better than people give it credit
for.
I
enjoy it, and the reason, it's been living in my brain. Our buddy Vince Montevilla was talking about it this past week and just talking about pulp things. But yeah, no, same. I love that. But I don't know if you saw the Solomon Kane movie that came out.
That was good.
Yeah, they were decent. They just didn't gain any traction.
Yeah,
and I don't know why. Because you think about, I think that's because there's some lesser known titles from those.
Well, first of all, a Solomon Kane movie didn't have a big name actor in it, and it's a character people just don't know.
Yeah.
There's nothing about that captures the average person's attention.
Yeah.
I mean, people that are
these other ones all had book foundations that were epically booked.
Yeah, and they had a lot of money thrown at them to get attention and a huge. Solomon Kane didn't get that.
Right.
It was
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I wish if it would get the attention that it deserved, or like these kind of wheelhouse of characters and creators to push that forward, that would be cool. Especially John Carter of Mars, because there is so much that goes into that you could just make a series of films.
Well, it's the same with Conan, right? You could do, because Conan is told, like, each book is its own thing. It's set up really for a movie verse, kind of like the Bond series in a different genre, of course, where you can have just movie after movie after movie.
And see, I've always thought Conan would make a better TV show than movie.
It really would.
I just think
if you did Conan the way that they did The Mandalorian,
I
think like that would work.
12
great.
or 13 episode series. That would be fantastic.
Or if you did it the way that the BBC does their show, Watson and
Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, like fucking 3 2-hour movies.
I need some more coffee. Yeah, so the way that they did the Sherlock Holmes with Benedict
3 or 4
Cumberbatch,
2-hour movies a season. Yeah.
That would be really cool.
And I think just the storylines, yes, but also I think the reason Conan would make a better TV show for the same reason that The Sopranos made a better TV show and Breaking Bad did, because Conan is not a hero.
No,
he's like what you D&D folk would say, chaotic good.
Yeah,
but he's not on adventures looking to save people. He's out there looking to make money. Yeah. And
he's a pirate and a murderer. That's
and he's not a murderer though.
Not in the sense of
he doesn't. He's not an assassin. He doesn't kill for money.
He just kills.
He's got morals, but he's not a hero.
Right.
He helps people because it's the right thing to do, not because it's a
because
law.
There's something in it for him.
Well, like really good example
neutral good.
Is like if if he is making his way through town and he sees two men accosting a woman, he's going to save the woman. If he sees two men accosting a man, he's not going to save the man unless the man says, "I'll pay you to save me."
Right. Yeah.
And then he'll say, "Okay."
Yeah. He has a set of values, but they're his own.
Yeah, and they're chaotic good, I think, is the best way to describe that. It's just, meanwhile, a hero would have saved whoever was in trouble.
Yeah.
Conan's going to mind his own business.
It's more neutral.
Because
neutral it's about him, but if there's a reason he needs to step in, he will.
Yeah.
I just got this great mental head movie. Conan walking down the street, making my way downtown. Dun, dun, dun.
Don't do that.
Chaotic good tends to be more of. I'm really diving into the nerd bushes here.
Yeah,
but it tends to be. It tends to be more of they do the right thing because it's the right thing to do, not because it's the lawful thing to do. So even if it goes against the law, they're going to do it because it's the right thing to do.
Which he definitely does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's hard. Yeah, it's hard.
It's somewhere between those two because a lot of his actions are motivated purely on how they benefit him as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even the saving the woman probably has to do with him planning on her paying in some other way.
No, I mean, he does. Like, he's going to save a woman in distress. He's going to save a child in distress, that kind of thing.
Fair.
He just so happens to be gifted with the nookie.
Yeah,
when he
with
does
the
that.
nookie when he does it. Yeah, it's just coincidental that he.
It's not transactional. It's just a thing that happens. It just lands in his lap, literally. So, all right. Well, I'm going to go now, and I'm going to take us on a different direction on this. So, when I watched the Dune trailer, it made me think about
Lord of the Rings.
No, I mean, I honestly, yes, but like I said, it's a different direction. It made me think about two individuals, and there's kind of a process here. So first, it made me think about Mobius, for reasons, which made me think about Mr. Alejandro, and I can't
Jodorowsky.
Jodorowsky. That's because I never pronounced his name right. And so when I started thinking about Mr. Jodorowsky, or I'm just going to call him Alejandro.
Al.
Yeah, when I started
Let's just call him Al. Yeah.
When I started thinking about AJ,
They call me
I started thinking about some of the books that I've read.
Could you superimpose Paul Simon in there?
I'll
Please,
see what I
no,
can do.
don't
I'll
do
see
that.
what I can do. But yeah, I'm throwing the Making My Way Downtown in there too.
Ruin everything.
I started thinking about some of the books that I've read,
I
and
can just sing it.
when you think about those two people,
No, you can't. That's the problem.
when I started thinking about those two people together, you obviously think about the Inkle, right? But I didn't want to really talk about the Inkle. There is another series that AJ wrote that I think really plays into the same theme, like a lot of the same themes of Dune, and that is his Metabaron. The Metabarons that was published by Humanoids. And so I've read the Metabarons that he did, and excellent series. So I fired up the laptop and I got on Comixology because I was going to go reread it because I wanted to talk about this show. But Comixology does this really cool thing. If you like this, you might like these. So one of the books that was listed there was The Metabaron, which was underneath that, which is I haven't read that particular series. I think there's 8 volumes of it. They're on sale on Comixology right now for $6, for like $6 a volume. So I downloaded The Metabaron and read it, and dude, just absolutely adored that first volume. I've bought 3 volumes of it, just $15. Why would I not? And it plays with a lot of the same themes that I know from watching the first Dune movie, and from what I know, like I said, not having read Dune, not having obviously not having seen the new one yet, but it plays with some of the same themes. It deals with a galactic empire. It deals with a very corrupt religion that controls.
Sounds like Star Wars to me.
It deals with in this particular series, it deals with a substance that people get addicted to, or that kind of powers them and gives them what they want. And so, like I said, this was written by Alejandro Jodorowsky. Jerry Frisson did the art on this with Valentin Secher on this. And again, it's published by Humanoids. The Metabaron is the last of an ancient race, right? Like he's floating out there in space in something called the Metabunker. A couple of years back, he did some fucking work, and he went to war, and he basically overcame and wiped out this empire and this sect that's ran by they're the Technos, and they're led by quote unquote Techno Pope. But he had to go into kind of hibernation, floating out there at the edges of space. And while he was hibernating for years and years and years, it brought itself back up. And now it's doing the same thing. It's up, it's corrupt. They're making people's lives hell. They're conquering space, and they're especially interested in this particular substance, which is kind of golden liquor in nature. That they're literally building a planet, not unlike the Death Star, kind of, but it's more like a hub that they are plating on this. And it turns out the main source in the universe for this particular substance is the ancestral home of the Metabaron. It kind of works out that way. Interesting, right? So the Metabaron wakes up from his hibernation years in the future, and finds out that the technos are back and that they are doing their thing, and they're essentially destroying his ancestral home.
Do you like how he's worked a book of the week into this?
Hey,
this is Jodorowsky started this comic book when his Dune movie was canceled.
okay,
Yeah,
that makes
all his plans for the Dune movie, whenever that was canceled, when that movie got scuttled, this is where he took those stories.
I knew it was the same thematically. I didn't realize that one thing led to the other. Actually, because I haven't looked at the dates on them, I didn't know which one came first. I assumed this came after that, and after like all of that, but I wasn't 100% sure. So that makes complete and perfect sense. But that's why this reminded me of this, and so like it's this kind of natural successor and thematic brother to the stuff that's in Dune. Parts of it are utterly ridiculous. Like there's this one. Techno general who's this dude who's got like these ginormous like mechanical arms that's addicted to this substance, and he's got a slave guy that he makes feed it into him. He's just a murderer. He gets put in charge of the armies. Did
you read this series?
No, but all this is straight out of Frank Herbert's
right?
Dune.
Yeah, it's like and I think that's why, because I knew it placed into this. But like you said, we don't have time to go and read all of Dune, right?
Yes, you do.
Well, look, I said before the film comes out. If
you really cared,
if I took the next 3 weeks off of work and school, I could, or next week off of work.
All you got to do is drop everything, including sleep.
It's all that's necessary. That's all that Crom requires of you.
How many pages is the first Dune book? Do you know? Give or take. I mean, I'm not asking.
Around 900
pages,
900, if I remember right.
And I think it also depends on what
just the mass trade paperback is about.
Yeah. What format you get in it? Because the one I have is the hardcover.
I've tried to order that trade paperback quite a few times, and it just won't come in.
What?
The trade paperback? Oh, you're talking about the paperback book? Or what are you talking about?
I said the mass paperback format.
You said trade paperback, and I was thinking of the graphic novel you talked about.
Right.
A couple of months ago.
Really? Can't get it.
Yeah, I've asked a few times and it
just
never
out
comes
of print.
in. I don't know. It just never comes in. So
there's a few like cheap graphic novel and used places. Are you trying like eBay and stuff too?
No, I was trying here.
Okay, yeah. So. Oh, I guarantee you that the places they order from at the shop don't have it.
Yeah.
But you can probably get it on eBay or something like that too. But so because we don't have time, you should go check out read this book, read the Metabarons. It'll give you a good indication if you've never read Dune or you've never seen Dune of what it is. So, and it's gorgeous art, man. This stuff is like sci-fi painted art out the just stunning pages. And it's a good introduction to the humanoids line. So if you've never read any of the humanoid stuff, go check this out. And yet, yes, Craig, you're absolutely right. I found a way to work in another book of the week here, but it's a chaos episode and there are no rules. So
there are no rules.
Fight me.
That's true.
So I didn't break the rule because there are none. So, yeah, dude, no, go read those. Seriously, I think you would love them.
Yeah, I've looked at them several times. I just haven't made a priority because I'm like, well, this is all.
Well, and you don't read digitally either, so getting them off online is not a thing that you would.
I looked at those. I looked for those on eBay a few years ago. Yeah.
Well, so if for folks at home, if you do read digital, you got a tablet, $6-something for a volume. It's not a bad thing, and it's a couple of issues.
Yeah.
So that's the Metabaron as opposed to Metabarons, which is also incredibly amazing, and very much in that same vein. So that's mine. Go check them out. Fun times all around. So, Craig, when are you going to see the movie?
Probably the day it comes out.
Okay. Matt, we already know that you'll be there the day before it comes out with a tent. fighting people away from the door. Matt's gonna like get arrested for like pushing somebody.
Something's gonna have to stop me. That's the way I'm gonna say it.
I don't know if I'm gonna get to go see it the day it comes out, but I will definitely see it within the first week. Raj and I have already like dedicated ourselves to doing that. So
I will be watching it whether it's at home or at the movie theater the day it comes
Craig's
out.
like, I don't care.
I may go to both, because ultimately the goal is to see it at the theater. But
yeah,
I don't want to be spoiled.
Well, have we? This is the most redundant question ever because I know the answer is going to be no, obviously for Matt. But have we had our fill of Dune for one episode? Matt's going to say no. he's verklempt. Craig, you feel good?
Yeah, I feel good.
Nice. So yeah, that's the thing. So 2 out of 3 of us, the trailer reminded them of an epic like Lord of the Rings. For me, it was Mr. Jodorowsky. So fun times all around. Go check everything out. Go rewatch Lord of the Rings. Go buy the Dune book. Read it. And if you have the Dune book, like me, make yourself read it when you have time. So, well, all right, guys. Well, as always, we're going to give you a little bit of a taste of the menu coming up. These are some books that are coming out next week on New Comic Day that we think that you should head to your local comic shop or however you get your comics as long as you pay for them. The 3 of us, we like to give our money to our local comics proprietor, Kapow Comics over in Sherwood, Arkansas. Great people. If you're in the Central Arkansas area or you're traveling through, make sure you swing by.
You don't have to say that just because Tony's here.
I say this regardless of the fact that Tony's here. I say this a lot. Tony wouldn't know because he doesn't listen to our podcast, but I'm just laughing at him. So go visit your local comic shop and pick these up. So Matt or Craig, who wants to go first? Y'all fight. Right now, fight.
I'll go first.
Okay, that wasn't a fight.
That was easy.
I yield.
Chicken Devil #1 by Aftershock Comics. Brian Busoletto, I think, and Hayden Sherman.
Sure.
Hayden Sherman. Nice.
Yeah. Mitchell Moss is about as regular as it gets. He's married with 2 children and co-owns a successful chain of Memphis hot chicken restaurants until he finds out that his business partner is in bed with the mob and owes them $2 million and he has to become a vigilante. So,
Memphis Mafia.
Yeah, I read that one too.
Nice.
Yeah.
What
Did I take it from you, Matt? Was that going to be your book?
Yeah.
Sorry. You may need to go, Caleb.
Sorry, not sorry is what you meant to say, right?
No.
He said,
I'm really sorry.
He absolutely does not feel bad. So there's a book coming out from Image Comics this next week that I'm curious about to see what's going on. This comes from the mind of Mr. Rick Remender with art by Andre Lima Arujo. Chris O'Halloran is on the colors, and Russ Wooten is on the letters. And it's called A Righteous Thirst for Vengeance. When an unassuming man stumbles upon a dark web contract assassin's vicious plot to kill an innocent target, he turns himself into one. The professional meets the road to perdition in this story of a family's unlikely guardian being hunted by rich and powerful men who are used to getting away with everything. So I'm curious about this. It's been a long time since I've read a Remender book, just ongoing. So
yeah, I'm curious about that one too.
Yeah, same.
I know Deadly Class was probably the last thing that Craig really
I
tapped
picked
into.
up the first issue to what was
the bastard book?
Scumbag?
Scumbag.
Yeah, Scumbag.
Yeah, the bad. He was a bastard.
It's
Definitely.
but I did not continue on that series. So yeah.
Well, what you grabbing this next week, Matt?
So to everybody's shock and amazement, I'm going to pick up from a Blaze Comics.
Yeah, that's
the
See,
Cimmerian
that's what I thought you were going
Beyond the Black River.
Yes.
So the picked country is an obscure jungle where the border between civilization and barbarism is thin, much like the country we live in. So I can't wait to read this to see where the reality and fantasy meet in my own world.
I get them all. I adore them, and I get all the hardcovers too. I'm double dipping, and if they ever come out with a giant tome, I'll get it too. I want it all.
I'm kind of waiting for an omnibus to step in, and
I want it all. I will.
It's all pretty. It's good. It's worth the. Yeah, I thought that's where you were going. I thought I was safe picking Chicken Devil. I'll let you go first next week.
Well, I had a backup because I knew if I didn't go first, you would pick the Aftershock book. So I knew. I mean,
it's A. So as I'm scrolling down, A's are first. So.
Unless it's alphabetical order, unless it's Batman, or unless it's Detective Comics.
Yes.
Yeah. So, well, all right,
Which
kids.
is Batman : Detective Comics.
Yeah, I do it.
Got you there.
I do it. My phone robot tells me to do. So, all right, folks. We hope you have fantastic weeks. Don't overtask yourself. Enjoy life. Get out there and have some fun. Read some comics. Escapism is your friend. Like I said, visit your local comic shop. Find cool stuff. Connect with us on all the places you heard about earlier. Jump on our Facebook group. Follow us on Instagram. Add us at Twitter. And if you have anything that you need to talk about, or any suggestions or things, or maybe you're somebody who creates their own stuff, fire us off an email. We're southernfriedgeekery@gmail.com. Full facts. I have been woefully short on answering emails this past week. Life is apparently law school is busy. So
go figure.
Yeah, my apologies if you have emailed us and we haven't gotten back to you. I am going to do my due diligence within the next 2 weeks of returning emails. So, man, if we got nothing further, I want you all to go forth and love some comics this week.
19 days till Dune.
Got the countdown clock going. So, all right. Bye, knuckleheads.